I'm Anastasia Chatzka, a fashion designer with over 20 years of experience and a sewing educator. And I'm really excited you're here to share another sewing adventure with me today. Welcome to Sewing Anastasia, and today we're gonna work on a super fun upcycling project. I have this wedding dress here, but it's not complete, and it's from the 60s. One of my friends, his mom knows that I love fashion, and I love sewing, and I love designing clothes, and I love upcycling. So she gave me this sample wedding dress of hers from the 1960s. So sweet and so cool. So she started on this as a sample to her original wedding dress, which I'm hoping I can get a photo and show you guys, because I'm kind of dying to see the original as well. I'm sure I've seen it before, but I don't remember. So we are going to save this sample, which, I mean, it literally was a sample. It's not even finished. And we are gonna turn it into a whole new dress. So I'm thinking we're gonna change the neckline on it, thinking we're going to hem this dress, we're gonna gather up the skirt of it, and we're gonna add some beautiful embroidery to it. So the back of this dress, you can see also this one doesn't fit me, so we're going to have to let out the waist and probably let out some of the darts as well. And you can see that it's fraying here, and on the bottom it is as well, and it's cut. So this one definitely needs some work, and it needs to be saved. So we are going to save this dress and turn it into something beautiful and magnificent that we can wear this spring. So I was inspired by the beautiful floral lace on the bodice and on the sleeves. I love these sleeves too because they kind of balloon out with this gather at the upper bicep and at the wrist. Kind of hard to tell on the dress form, but when you put it on, it's so beautiful. So I found this embroidery and I tested one out, and it's on an organza right now, so I could see how it would look when it's done on the actual dress, because we only have one dress to upcycle, so we can't make any mistakes. So I found this beautiful embroidery, and I'm thinking I'm gonna embroider it from the waist down and do a ton of them throughout a full gathered skirt here. So keep following along on this adventure of transforming this dress from turning it into this, into, well, we don't know yet, but we're gonna figure it out. Okay, so I have my seam ripper and I am ready to start transforming this dress. The first thing I'm going to do is remove the skirt from the empire waistline that we have here. So that way I can embroider it, cut it, check it for damage, finish the edges, because the edges are raw right now. So let's start seam ripping. Since there's no zipper in it, the easiest place to start is going to be at center back here. Looks like we've got lots of stitches in here, zigzag stitches, straight stitches. So this might take a while. Time to take off my glasses and get to work. These stitches are so tight in here. This is going to take me forever. It definitely wasn't gonna fall apart on the wedding day. Okay, we did it. The skirt is off of the bodice, and now we are ready to transform this skirt into something other than a giant white rectangle. So let's do it. Let's do a little cutting, let's do a little embroidering, and see what we can do with this. I love upcycling so much because it's so fun to see something go from what it was to what it's going to become. I just love the idea of giving something a new life, especially a wedding dress, because that is something that is iconic and so, so special to somebody for that special day that they only get once in their life. Okay, so I have my cutting table set up. I've got my piece of organza here, and now we're gonna chop it up. I'm actually just gonna chop this right in half lengthwise because I want the skirt of the dress to be about 18 inches, and it's right around there, and I know we're gonna have to work around a few damages at the hem and at the top of the dress, so I think it's gonna be best if we just go ahead and chop this in half. Now the seams on this are also raw and rough, and they've got all these funny little curly bits on them. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just cut all the seams open, and we're gonna work with this in panels as we embroider it. So let's do it. Let's see, I don't know what the best way is for this. I guess we're gonna use a rotary cutter and we'll just cut open the seam. Seems to be working well. So right here, it looks like there's a burn hole in here. So we're gonna have to go back over this and make sure we take this out of the seam. I cut down one side of the seam and now I'm gonna go ahead and cut off the other. Here we go. Now we have some panels to work with and we can go ahead and cut these in half. So let's see, if we cut them in half, they're going to end up 22 inches long. So I'm gonna go ahead and place one end at the top here on my mat. Flatten it out. And then go ahead, grab my rotary cutting ruler and place it at 22. And now we have two pieces. Sometimes it can be a little scary cutting up a dress because you don't know how it's gonna turn out or what's gonna happen, and there is no going back. That is the scariest part, no going back. But I'm pretty confident this dress is gonna turn out beautifully. So let's just keep chopping our dress pieces in half. Okay, we did it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 6 panels. Now what I really need to decide is, do we want to sew them all together first, or do we want to go ahead and embroider these individually? I think I'm gonna pull out the embroidery and see how big it actually is, because we might be able to fit more embroideries around the skirt if we sew them all together first. So here's our embroidery again. That one's pretty small, so that's for sure 1. This is maybe 1.5. Yeah, we can probably get 1.5 out of that one. Just telling me we should probably sew these together and then embroider them. Okay, so our next step is going to be sitting down and sewing all these pieces of organza together, so that way we end up with one big piece that we can start embroidering. Okay, so I have decided to just serge all the pieces together since this fabric is so delicate. I want to make sure it can stand at least a few wears because we're about to put a bunch of work into this. So let's start serging. So I'm gonna serge all the panels together. Make sure you are serging them with the right sides because we have the length and the width different on these. These are not big squares. Okay, we're looking good. What happened? It's very also possibly just stretched. Okay, we are just gonna go for it. This is part of the upcycling game. Sometimes things move, they stretch, they're old, they lose their shape, etc., etc. And you just gotta go with it. Okay, so now that we have all of our panels serged together, I'm going to run a serge on the sides and across the top. We did it! We are all serged together, and now we have a giant piece of fabric and we are ready to embroider, so let's do it! Hey guys, so after hours and hours and hours of embroidery, I am finally done with the embroidery for the skirt of the dress. so exciting. Now we can finally finish this dress. So what I'm going to do is cut off a little bit of the bodice at the bottom because it looks like it got damaged. And I thought, why not put a pink satin ribbon there? I love pink satin ribbons, and we have some pink in our flowers. So why not bring out the pink in the flower with a nice little satin waistband? I also want to point out that I went ahead and I let out the bodice of the dress because this dress was way too small on me. I could not fit my arms in the sleeves. I could not pull it to meet center back. So I went ahead and I let it out on the princess line. I let it out on the side seam. So that's why the dress is kind of bunching up there and wanting to go back together because I let it out. And so now, when I pull the dress to meet at center back, it meets. So this is great. This means I will actually fit in the dress. So good news, we can actually use this dress and upcycle it to wear it. So I'm gonna go ahead and just iron open all these seams so that way everything's laying nice and flat inside the garment, and then we can move on. Okay, so now what we're going to do is cut off the bottom of this bodice because it has those little holes in it. So I'm gonna fold my bodice in half. I'm going to line it up with the lines on my mat here. We want to make sure everything is nice and even. I'm going to grab my pattern weight. We're going to weight it down. And I'm going to go ahead and take off a 1/2 inch. A little scary, always cutting into a dress, but now we have that 1/2 inch off, and I'm gonna go ahead and just run this through the serger, clean up the edge, and then we're gonna sew the skirt onto the dress. Okay, so I have pinned my pink satin ribbon on top of my dress, and we are going to sew it up. And I'm just gonna do this with a straight stitch just right on the edge. My sewing machine says I've been sewing for 88 hours since I've gotten the machine. Kind of crazy, right? But you know what? I was sewing sequins yesterday, and I'm gonna change this needle because I do not want any snags in the satin ribbon because this is my last piece. So that would be a disaster. We don't want that. Changing a needle is so easy. That took what, 30 seconds? Okay, let's try again. And we did it. So cute. Oh my gosh, I love it. It kind of reminds me of a Victorian dress with the satin there. So cute. Okay, let's put this on the dress form and let's figure out how we're going to attach the skirt and still have the ribbon, if we're actually gonna sew a seam or if we're gonna place the fabric underneath it and just do a top stitch. Okay, so this pink satin is looking super cute. I'm loving it. Would love to know what you guys think of it. Leave it down below in the comments. And I think next we are going to gather up our embroidered piece of fabric, and then we can go ahead and pin it on the dress and kind of see what kind of vibes we want with it. Do we want it under the ribbon? Do we want it on top of the ribbon? You know, maybe we're gonna come up with another creative idea. Who knows, right? This is the fun part about upcycling, is letting the dress and the project kind of transform and take its own direction. So my favorite method for gathering fabric is using the zigzag stitch. It is so fast and easy, and it never ever breaks. A lot of times when you're using the basting stitch with gathering, it always breaks and it sucks. It's so annoying. So we're gonna use the zigzag stitch on this, and I'm gonna keep it real close to the edge. And if you don't know how to do that, well, of course, I've got a video on it. Also, if you have a machine that lets you select your fabric type, make sure you're selecting the correct fabric so that way your tension is going to be set properly. And we made it all the way to the end. We have some gathered fabric, so let's go pin it on the dress form and see what kind of creativity we can come up with. So I'm thinking I would like the gathering to be under the ribbon, but I'm not sure if it's gonna be poofy and do something funky. So we're gonna pin it and find out. So So I think this is going to be super cute and work out great. So I'm gonna lay it on the table, I'm gonna pin it all up, and then we're gonna sew it down. And after we sew down the organza, then we can go ahead and sew the lining into it. So we have the fabric gathered onto the waist and it's looking beautiful. I'm loving it. So I went ahead and I cut the lining shorter that was originally in the dress. And now I'm gonna gather up this piece of lining and then I'm going to attach it to the dress. And then we can kind of do like a semi try-on, kind of see how we're feeling. Do we want it shorter? And then we have to decide what do we want to do with this neckline. I'm really thinking just making it a big scoop. We'll see. Okay, so we are back to that zigzag gather. Okay, now that this is all gathered up, let's pin it into the waist of the dress. Okay, let's take it off and make some magic happen. Okay, let's put it on the dress form. See it with the lining in it. It is really coming to life. The lining under it really makes the embroidery pop on it, which I love. Okay, we have all the stitches in the waist. Okay, so we have our skirt into our waistband and it's looking beautiful. I love it. Still not loving the high neck. I kind of love it, but I'm so short that I feel like things like this just consume me. So I'm gonna open up the neckline. So I've got my water soluble marker and I'm gonna go ahead and draw it on. Okay, so it's not even, but we're gonna even it out after. But I'm thinking I'm liking this U-shaped neckline. I think it complements the shape in the princess line here and the fluidity of the bottom with the flowers. Okay, so for the back, this is the back of the dress here. Don't want to go real low or anything, but I think I want to come down a little bit. So for the back, we're gonna come out that inch from the shoulder and we're just going to scoop down. So I'm gonna go ahead, pin it, put a basting stitch in it, and then I'm gonna cut the fabric off the neck. Because I don't wanna just cut into it because there's two layers here, a lace and a lining. I wanna make sure that they're getting cut evenly, because it'd be a bummer if they didn't. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, you guys, we are back with another exciting day of working on this dress and finishing it up. We've got the waistband on, we have the zipper in. I just have to fold down the zipper tabs in the back. The gathering is looking beautiful throughout the whole entire waist, front to back. Really happy with how it's turning out. We've got the hem here all finished. The lining is of course a little shorter than the outside, so that way your lining doesn't poke out from your self fabric, right? So I ended up finishing the neckline on the dress. I went ahead and cut that line that I drew, serged the edge, and just flipped it over once. And I'm loving it. I think it looks great. We have that nice scoop in the back, and we also have that nice scoop in the front. Open up our chest a little. Okay, so I want to change the sleeves. Love the long lace sleeve, but I'm kind of feeling like it would be really cute if we doubled the bubble that's here and made it 3/4 length. So we're going to do that next. We're gonna chop up those sleeves. And then I also went and bought some more pink satin ribbon, but it's a lighter color. So I'm debating whether we sew that lighter color on top of the waist or if I just put light pink from the waist at the side seam back, because I want to put some ribbon on the side so that way we can cinch it up in the back a little more with a giant bow. Who doesn't love a bow? I know I do. So this is the pink ribbon that I got, and you can see that it's a little different in color from the one that's already there. So I'm debating whether we just put it on top and top stitch it down, or do I just start it at the side seam and there's darker in the front and lighter in the back. I'm thinking I'm probably gonna end up trying it on and play with it a little more after I finish the sleeves. So let's chop up the sleeves, seam rip them, and make them poofier and shorter. Okay, so you guys are probably wondering, why does my hairstyle keep changing? I am just so not into my hair today at all, so you have to bear with me. You know, We just got a lot of different hairstyles today. Side pony, hair down, weird pineapple in the middle with half down. Sometimes you just gotta try new things, right? Just like sewing, you gotta try something new. Okay, so we are going to take this sleeve apart, cut it in half, and gather it all right below the cap here where it's already gathered. And I'm wondering, to save time, if we just chop it off. Maybe that's what we do. I'm honestly just so excited to finish this dress and try it on. It's so super fun. Love transformations. Okay, seam ripping lace. I need my glasses off. I have to see up close. My glasses are only for far away. Oh yeah, this is on with a zigzag stitch. We will just be cutting this because it is a broken zigzag stitch, which means it's just not a zig and a zag. It's a stitch, 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 zag, stitch, 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 zig. That's gonna take forever. So very carefully, I am going to cut next to the seam that is here. And you know, maybe I should try it on after I do this, because maybe I'll just like it short sleeve. Who knows? Okay, one sleeve off. And now we have a cute little short lace sleeve. Oh, that's so precious. I feel like I want to give it more style though. I feel like the bubble sleeve will just be so fun and unexpected. So cute, but I don't know. I think we're gonna bubble them. We can always take them off, right? We can just baste them on. So now I'm going to cut off the cuffs on these. Cuffs off. Okay. And now I'm going to open up the seam that's already here. And by open it up, I mean just cut it open. Okay, we have one piece of lace to work with. Okay, and another piece of lace to work with. So I'm gonna go iron these out. When I get back, we'll chop them in half, sew them together, and gather them up. Okay guys, so I ironed them nice and flat. I have 2 of them. I'm gonna fold them in half lengthwise. And I'm just gonna take my pair of scissors and cut them in half. When you're in school, do they ever teach you to fold the paper either hot dog or hamburger? We've currently just folded the fabric hot dog. Okay, now we have 4 pieces of lace. So we are gonna sew 2 of them together at the short ends. So that way we end up with one really long piece that we can gather into the sleeve. Okay, now we have 2 really long strips. I'm gonna go serge the edges and serge the edge of the sleeve that I cut, and then I'll come back and we'll gather these up into the sleeve. Okay, I am back and everything is nice and serged up. I also got some elastic so I can put it at the bottom of the gather so that way it stays gathered at the bottom as well. So we're just gonna have to close the other side of this, and then we're gonna run our basting stitches in it to gather it up. Okay, that was not sewing, I just knotted it. So let's try this on. And this feels comfortable here. So I think we're good. Almost looks like a little Barbie skirt, right? So now what we need to do is gather the other end. Oh, we could put it on our head too, it could be like a hat. How fun. We have a little poof, so cute. Okay, so now we're gonna attach this to the sleeve. Okay, we are all pinned up here in a circle. Time to put it back to a regular stitch length. And let's sew this up with a permanent stitch. Okay, moment of truth here. Oh, so cute. I think it's time to try it on and see if we want to do the same thing to the other side before I go through all that work of creating it. Okay, so poof, no poof. I think I like the little poof on the sleeve. It just adds a little bit more detail to it. I love just like the plain little t-shirt sleeve too, but we're having fun with this dress and upcycling it. So I feel like we should use all the fabric we can in the dress and give it more details than it had before, or accentuate the details that were already there. Because this had a long sleeve with a little gather here. So now we've made it a short sleeve with a lot of gather right here. Okay, so both of the sleeves are done and they are cute and poofy and I love them. So I've decided that the pink ribbon I bought earlier, I am going to put it around the waist and just edge stitch it on the top and the bottom, right around the waist. And then I'm gonna leave some nice long tails in the back so we can tie it in a bow. And then we are completely finished with this dress. We get to try it on and go for a nice walk outside. I did it! I finished the upcycled dress. Remember what it looked like before and look what it looks like now. I love upcycling dresses so much. I find it so fun and rewarding. I would love to know what you think about this project. Leave it down below. And if you have any questions about this project, leave that down below as well, and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. As always, make sure you follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. No, I don't use Snapchat anymore. Don't follow me on Snapchat. Instagram and Facebook and Pinterest though, and TikTok. Definitely using those all the time. If you're not already a subscriber to Sew Anastasia, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you know when all the new videos come out. Also, if you have any questions about this video, leave it down below and I'll get back with you as soon as I can. And I would love to see your upcycle projects, so make sure you DM me photos or tag me at Sew Anastasia on social media so I can repost them and share them with everyone else and keep the creativity flowing. And don't forget, I'm now teaching sewing classes in studio and virtually, so make sure you go to sewanastasia.com and check those out and join one of my classes. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!